Data profiling tools provide a visual way for you to explore your data and to get a sense of its composition. And each of the data profiling tools that we'll cover have some slightly different options, layout, and purpose. Digging into column quality first, this is all about showing the percentage of values within a column. And these percentages are broken down into 3 types: valid, error, or empty. And if you're ever trying to quickly identify the percentage of empty or error values within a column, this is a great tool to use. Additionally, you can hover over the column quality box to reveal a contextual menu with some details and additional options. On the lower right, you'll see a little ellipsis icon that when clicked will reveal a bigger contextual menu with some other options to do things like clean up duplicates, remove empty values, and remove or replace errors. So one thing to keep in mind here is that the great thing about these types of contextual menus is that they allow you to solve column quality issues without having to try and find the appropriate steps within the query editor. These menus really bring this functionality straight to you without you having to go and find it. Another profiling tool is column distribution, and this provides a sample distribution of the data contained within a column. And very similar to column quality tools, we have the same types of contextual menu options that help us clean up and sort out error or duplicate values that may be contained within the column. The other thing that I'd like to call out here is that you actually have a suggestion from the query editor. And this suggestion is a potential remedy based on the distribution that it finds within the column. So here we can see that there's a remove duplicate suggestion to help clean up this data. This may not always be exactly what you want, but it can be kind of handy if the recommended option is the exact data cleaning step that you're looking for. Our last data profiling tool is called Column Profile. And this provides a more holistic view of the data within a column by providing a sample distribution of the data along with specific column statistics. So on the bottom left of this view, we have the column statistics view, which provides a bit more detail than just the column distribution view we just reviewed. This actually now gives us some detail about counts, the number of distinct values, the number of uniques, some min and max and empty values, and so forth and so on. On the right-hand side, we have the value distribution, which shows the distribution of each value within the column. And similar to the other profiling tools, you can also hover to reveal a contextual menu with suggested transformation options. All right, so with all of this in mind, let's go head over to the query editor and we're going to check out these column profiling tools for ourselves. All right, so for this demo, we're going to connect to the customer lookup table. And this is the table that we're going to use to demo some of these profiling and QA tools. All right, perfect. So again, kind of following some of our best practices and initial first steps. Let's update our table name here to just customer lookup. And then we'll check to make sure that all of the data types and column headers look good. All right, so kind of scrolling along here, text values, our birth date is a date, marital status, gender, text, email text, annual income here. This is a whole number. We could update that to currency if we want, but that looks good. Children, okay, everything looks really good here. So all of these column profiling tools that we talked about are located up here in the view menu. And let's enable our column quality. And we can see that our quality, it actually looks pretty decent. Right? We get this little results window for valid, error, and empty. Like I said, when we hover, we get these contextual menus. You can right click and also get a contextual menu with some of these kind of common transformation steps. Right? So if we scroll along here, right, we've got prefix column here with less than 1% of empty values here. And again, like this is stuff that kind of makes sense, right? We may not have a Mr. or Mrs. prefix for all of the customers within our data set. So seeing that it's only 9 here, I'm not super concerned about this, and it's probably not some sort of issue that is going to compromise the integrity of our data, right? If we keep scrolling along here, again, everything is valid at 100%, no errors, no empties. Everything looks pretty good here, but this is actually a bit misleading because the default column profiling only analyzes the first 1,000 rows of the table and our customer lookup table contains over 18,000 records. So in order to view all of the records, we need to update the column profiling from the first 1,000 records to be based on the entire data set. And then once we update that range, we'll see how this really looks. So to do that, we see down at the bottom here where it says column profiling is based on the top 1,000 rows. And we actually want to have it based on the entire data set. So once we do that, Power BI goes through and rescans this. And once this updates, look what happens, right? Our customer key column now has a bunch of errors in it, right? We're seeing that there's 5 errors here. Some of our other columns like prefix and first name, like we're actually seeing some empty values in here as well. So something is going on with this data set that we actually need to clean up. And like we had talked about, we can actually use Power Query suggestions here to remove these errors, right? So if I click remove errors here, a new applied step is going to be added for that. And then we'll see the updated results based on that change. The only other piece that we have here now is that we're actually getting some empty values within this column, right? So again, we can follow Power Query's suggested update here, click remove empty, right? We've added another applied step here for filtering rows. We're filtering out those empty rows. And now we're kind of back to where we were at, right? We've got 130 empty values here for prefix, but again, that may make sense based on the data set. And if I scroll over, right, all of these other columns are now 100% valid, right? So it looks like that took care of it. But what I would still like to understand is what exactly was causing those errors, right? Like what was the actual values or the reason behind it? So let's delete these last 2 applied steps, right? And now we're back to this state where we have all of these errors. If we come back to our header here, and we right click, if you select keep errors, what this is going to do is add a new applied step that shows a results table with all of those errors in it. And you can actually click into each of these errors to see the Power Query error message. So this is a data format error that we couldn't convert to a number, right? And here's the details. This 30 with 3 dashes is what Power Query was trying to convert to a number. Right, if I clear out of this last applied step, I can click into another error here. And again, it's that same error. We couldn't convert this to a number. And here's the number that was trying to be converted. All right, we'll check one more here. All right, so this is same error, but a slightly different issue. Right, it looks like there's some source data here or a link or something like that that couldn't be converted to a whole number. So again, like that is the underlying reason why those errors were happening. Those are the actual issues within that data set. We also see that there's some other values within prefix that really don't make sense, right? These are not picked up as inaccurate because of the column data type being text, but lowercase m doesn't really mean anything, right? If we scroll over here, looks like we've got some birth dates from, January 1st, 1900. So again, these different rows here don't make sense to keep as part of this data set. So if we clear our keep errors step, the great thing about this is that we can just rerun through those same cleaning steps, right? We can either remove errors by clicking this, we can right click and then select remove errors, right? We can right click again, remove empty. And after that, we're back to this nice clean data set where our only empty values are within this customer prefix column. All right, so now that we've got these errors cleaned up, let's quickly check out some of the other profiling tool options. And I'm going to deselect column quality. We'll check out column distribution. And again, when we select our column distribution here, we see a sample distribution of the values within each of the columns. And if we go and let's check out first name here, we can see that we have 666 distinct values and 89 unique values. So this means that there are 666 distinct first names within the column and 89 of them appear only once, right? So that's how to interpret those numbers. And if we hover over the column header here, again, Power Query has this remove duplicate suggestion. And again, we're a little bit smarter than this suggestion and understand that duplicates are actually necessary within the column. So we'll ignore that. And then last, we'll check out our column profiling tools. And here we get a really nice view of our column statistics and a chart showing the distribution. Again, one of the important pieces to note here is that some of these column statistics really may not make sense. Count makes sense. We're going to want to see the errors or empty values, distinct, unique. These may make sense. But the min and max here, these don't really tell you much beyond the first and last names in an alphabetical order. But if we scroll over to a column like our annual income and select this one, now some of these column statistics are going to provide a little bit more value here, especially when we get down to the minimum, maximum values, our average, and standard deviation, right? So depending on the data contained within each of these columns, some of the statistics tools and the distribution may make more sense. The larger point here is that you have a bunch of tools at your disposal that are really helpful to use when you're exploring and trying to understand the data contained within your tables. Data prep and QA is often a very time-consuming and intensive process as an analyst, and these tools can help make that process a bit quicker and scalable.